Welcome to the Cover One Matchup Show. This week, the Buffalo Bills are heading to South Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins in their first road test of the year and their second divisional game to kick off the season after dominating the New York Jets in Week 1. This week, we're joined by our national scouts, Christian Page and Russell Brown, as well as the OG, Eric Turner. They're going to take a look at the Miami offense versus the Bills defense, a little bit of this new look secondary from the Miami Dolphins, something I'm really excited to take a look at there. And Eric's going to take a deep dive into the Bills offense and maybe some of that creativity we saw in Week 1. Are we going to see that again here Week 2? So these are going to be some things to keep your eyes out on while you're watching the game on Sunday. But no further ado, take it away, boys.
As we enter Week 2 between the Bills and the Dolphins, we prepare for a running back by committee by the Miami Dolphins. This week, we could see Myles Gaskin get the ball 5 or 6 times, and Jordan Howard get the ball 19 times. We could see Matt Breida get 15 touches. You just really don't know. Right now, it's safe to say, as this Dolphins backfield is committee, they're going to utilize the player that has a strong week in practice, and more than likely, they'll ride the hot hand. Last week, it was Myles Gaskin. First and foremost, the Dolphins are throwing to Gaskin as he's their primary pass catcher out of the backfield. Last week, he had 4 receptions for 29 yards in the first half, and he did finish the game with that total. Even though he didn't record a catch in the second half, you have to keep tabs on him at all times, because during passing downs, not only is he in the backfield, he's also aligned as the Z receiver in empty formations, and you can see that late in the fourth quarter last week against the Patriots, so we could very well see that this week against the Bills. As a runner, Gaskin shows nice contact balance for only being listed at 5'10 and 193 pounds. In Week 1, he had 32 yards after contact and tallied 40 yards in total rushing. Through his 9 rushing attempts last week, 4 of them started with him running between the center and left guard. This could indicate what direction and gap he'll be running through. Moving forward, they use Matt Breida to change the pace where they rely on his potential breakaway speed, which is created from his vision and shiftiness between the tackles. Last season, Breida had a breakaway percentage of 42.4% according to Pro Football Focus. That was second best in the NFL. In Week 1, Breida only had 5 carries, but he did tally 22 yards, which was good for 4.4 yards per carry. With more time and comfortability in this new offense, it's only a matter of time before he breaks one. Let's hope it doesn't happen against the Bills in Week 2. Lastly, the Dolphins hope that Jordan Howard can be efficient in short yardage and near the goal line. He got a 1-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter last week against the Patriots, but it took him 3 consecutive attempts at the goal line. Last week, Howard looked slow and was very much a north and south runner. Some of this could be due to him battling through a hamstring injury last week, which is what might have caused an increase of touches for Myles Gaskin. Despite seeming to be the least efficient of the 3 running backs right now, the Dolphins are paying him $10 million over the next 2 seasons, so he should very much be in the game plan moving forward. On Sunday, it's unclear who the starter will be, but right now, we can prepare for all 3 of these backs against the Bills on Sunday.
As we kind of get into our flow here, one of the topics that Tom touched on is maybe where the Bills are going to try to go after this team. And I think it's going to be interesting to be able to dive in. And we'll make it the player spotlight for this week. And it's really going to be about Jerome Baker against, I'm going to say both Devin Singletary and Dawson Knox. And just where do we think the best opportunity is? And for you guys that are listening now, make sure you're checking out the Cover One Matchup Show. Just awesome work. We got some really exciting stuff coming this week from Eric and Russell and Christian diving into this. And one of the things that you and I have talked about all week is, do we test them with Xavien Howard and all the investments in the secondary and by adding Byron Jones, or do we try to take advantage of what we talked about with Tom to try to get Baker out there on an island?
Yeah, so I think when I was watching, obviously we didn't have the all-22, so it's hard to really see what Jones, and plus the 19 passes that the Patriots threw didn't give you a good indication, even if we had the all-22, what to expect out of this new look defensive backs. But the talk's been Diggs versus Jones and Allen taking shots downfield, and that's the premier matchup. And yes, on paper, I agree, names, it is the premier matchup, and that is what people probably want to see. But I think the most important pivotal matchup, at least Bills offense to Miami defense, is attacking that middle of the field. Go back I urge fans to go back and watch some of the games last year of Baker in coverage. If I'm Brian Dable and I'm watching Baker, you hit it on the head when you were talking to Tom. You watch him turn at all. He runs around confused. He just doesn't have a feel. It reminds me of Preston Brown early in Preston Brown's career in coverage, except he's faster, he's more athletic, but he was still just always out of his spot, always out of coverage. I think the Bills have a huge opportunity to attack. We didn't see a lot of production out of the tight ends last week, and I think we should expect some more production out of them. And if I'm Dable, I'm just trying to find ways to get Singletary matched out there one-on-one with Baker, because I'm taking that matchup all day long. And if I can get Beasley out there on the linebacker, oh boy, I'm going to exploit the crap out of that too. I think they're going to be able to do some of that also with some of the jet motion stuff with McKenzie, get McKenzie out in space and clear out some of the DBs. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to expose those linebackers in the passing game. But I think ultimately we'll still see a Bills passing game that is right around the 60-40 we saw. I know we looked at what New England did. It's not going to be that. I think they're still going to be a 60-40.
For anybody who isn't sure, New England ran the ball 42 times and passed 19.
It was like 79% of their...
Literally out of like the 1960s in the NFL. And I'm curious to see, I think fans should brace themselves for, maybe we see Lee Smith active this week. I think Tyler Kroft could matter in this game. Obviously, Dawson Knox is a big piece of that. I loved what we saw of both Zach Moss and Devin Singletary coming out of the backfield to the point where I don't know who it would be, but maybe you could even see a logic of TJ Yeldon over an extra wide receiver. I think it's that. I think that I'm curious to see, are they going to start using some of those actives and inactives and the depth of this roster specific to the game plan and matchup? We saw the Patriots line up and punch the Dolphins in the mouth. And I'm curious, are they going to want to have that option to do that and not lean into, just like last week, we didn't run up the middle a lot because that's where the Jets were good. Well, we're probably not going to pass to the outside a ton because that's where the Dolphins are good.
Yeah, and running up the middle is going to be a struggle. Like we talked about, Wilkins is going to be a challenge for more. So I do think it's going to be there. And the linebacking core doesn't get a lot better in pass coverage outside of Baker. Roberts isn't great in pass coverage. Van Noy is probably their best.
He's versatile, but it's not, coverage isn't his specialty. His versatility is also, he's more like a Lorenzo Alexander. His versatility is pass rushing.
He's sound. And if he has to drop back into coverage, he is the best that what they have. He's not the mobile athletic linebackers like we have here in Buffalo. Hopefully we have them this weekend. But so it stood out usually when I'm watching the tape and looking for something to stand out to me to exploit or attack. It usually doesn't stand out like it did to me with Miami and their linebackers matched up against our running backs and tight ends. If it's that obvious to an idiot like me, Brian Dable's scheming up some fun stuff this week. And I expect to see a lot of the same creativity we saw with the pistol formations, the jet sweep stuff, and to just keep those guys out of position, keep those guys guessing. Because Miami wants to play man with the guys we have on the outside. And I think everyone's talking up. You saw the distribution that we had to the guys on the outside last week. They're planning for it. They're planning that we're going to test them. I'm not saying we're not going to go out and test those guys, but I see heavy dose of playing to the middle of the field and getting the ball in the running back's hands.
Yeah, and I think Nick asked a good question. Do we think it's going to be a big game for Beasley? And I think that seeing Edelman's game matters. And we're, like we said, we're not going to tilt as far as New England did. So we're also not going to throw none outside the hash marks and outside the numbers because Stephon Diggs and John Brown are better than what the Patriots have. So we can test them. But you also don't want to have – I don't want 46 pass attempts this game. That's not what makes sense against a secondary like this. That's not our best game plan to take advantage of the matchup that we have here. I do hope that we still pass more than we run. I do hope that maybe it's lower than 60-40 for a game like this. Maybe it's 55-45 or what we were last year, which was 53-47. That could make sense in a game like this. And I like it that we can vary like that and that we can go back to games where we can lean into it and be really heavy. I know for anyone who saw the metrics that came out today, while the game was still in question and during the neutral game script time period, the Bills were the fourth most pass-heavy team in the NFL last week. So I love the fact that that's where they leaned because that's what made sense in that matchup. In this matchup, I don't know that makes sense as much. They should dial it back a little bit. So for the Uncle Jumbo's player spotlight, we thought that that matchup with Jerome Baker, whether you want to make your call with Dawson Knox or a surprise game from Tyler Kroft or both Moss and Singletary coming out of the backfield, I think that's where everybody should be watching to see us take advantage of that.
That was great stuff. Look, it's no secret the Bills struggled against man coverage a year ago. It's why they brought in Stephon Diggs. They're going to go up against one of the premier cornerback duos in the league as the Miami Dolphins brought in Byron Jones and get back a healthy Xavien Howard. Our national scout Christian Page is going to take a look at this matchup and what to look for this Sunday.
This Sunday afternoon, the Bills will be tasked with matching up against arguably the best cornerback duo in the league, Xavien Howard and Byron Jones. Howard recorded 27 snaps in Miami's loss to the Patriots in Week 1 in his first game back since October of 2019. He missed the majority of last season with a knee injury. Before having his season cut short a year ago, Howard tied for tops in the league with 7 interceptions in 2018. In his first 2 seasons as the full-time starter for the Dolphins in 2017 and 2018, Howard combined for 25 passes defended with 11 interceptions. His ball skills are on constant display due to his above-average ball awareness. Howard has a knack to attack the football like a receiver with greedy and active hands. Howard shows the consistent lower body technique to explode to the football and has the body control to reel in any sort of interception. Howard is not necessarily known for his physical contests at the line of scrimmage, as he thrives in soft press coverage or in zone looks. However, he has the impeccable ability to close on the football with safety-like range and awareness. His near-elite change of direction gives him the advantage versus any receiver in any type of coverage. Howard does an excellent job of staying in the hip pocket of his matchup, no matter the agility or speed of his opposition. He manages to keep consistent leverage at all parts of the field. The best way to expose Howard is getting him in press situations to test his physical skills at the line of scrimmage. Despite his impressive change of direction, with an appropriate release off the line, receivers can create enough separation for a window. Continuing to recover from his knee surgery in December, Howard may still be on a snap count come Sunday. From tenured player to newcomer, Byron Jones comes over from Dallas and at the time signed the largest contract of any cornerback in league history, agreeing to 5 years, $82.5 million, with $40 million being guaranteed in the first 2 seasons. In the first game for his new team, Jones played 97% of the snaps with 62 plays. He primarily played on the right side of the defense, shadowing mostly Damiere Byrd as he finished the game with 0 catches. Carrying over from his time in Dallas, Jones lived on the island, showcasing his physicality and speed. His athletic profile is accentuated on the outside, showing his physicality and plush lower body movement skills. Jones can get uncomfortable when playing out of his element on the inside. He can get overwhelmed by heavy traffic and lacks consistent control. Playing in his desired press situation can become troublesome when operating in the slot, which opens an opportunity for Buffalo. Stephon Diggs saw 16 snaps in the slot last weekend, reeling in 3 receptions on 9 targets. A recipe for success would be for Jones to step away from his usual right side and shadow Diggs to the slot. This would give opportunities to other wide receivers to make a splash on the outside against rookie Noah Igbenogany and other Dolphins defenders. Despite matching up with 2 of the premier corners in the league this weekend, Buffalo has a path to expose Miami's secondary.
All right, thanks, Christian. Now in our next segment, Eric Turner is going to take a look at Josh Allen's history against the Miami Dolphins and what he might need to do to continue the track record of success he's had thus far. Let's take a look at the film.
The Week 2 matchup for the Bills is another division foe, so they need to go down to Miami and take care of business, something that Josh Allen has done against the Dolphins since entering the league. Allen has completed 61% of his passes against the Dolphins for a whopping 913 yards, 10 passing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. It was during that Week 11 matchup last season the Bills figured out their secret sauce. That was putting Brian Daboll upstairs in the box and running no huddle to keep the defense honest. Allen takes his confidence and baller status to another level when he plays the Dolphins. He trusts his arm strength and is rarely trigger shy. He isn't afraid to launch a pass in there to his teammates. But it isn't all physical talent that shines against Miami. Allen has shown complete command of the Brian Daboll offense. Listen to Nate Geary and I break down this pass from Josh Allen to Duke Williams from the Miami Dolphins game last year. He got up to the line really early in the play clock. If you look at the broadcast angle, and you even heard Daboll mention it yesterday in his presser, they got Josh Allen into a higher tempo, a faster tempo in that third quarter, at the bottom of the third quarter here. And he got him up to the line with like 19, 20, 22 seconds left on the play clock so he could see the defense. And he made it look cadence-wise like he was going to snap the ball. And that's why the Dolphins actually kind of showed their hand on this play and allowed Josh Allen to go ahead and slide that protection. And I really like the location on this pass, Nate. I want to get your thoughts on this play.
This is a perfect example of the potential responsibilities for how much they're putting on Josh Allen. I'm actually I'm surprised with how well he's handled. You don't realize what goes into a play to be successful pre-snap, much less post-snap. Like this play right here is football encapsulated. And what I mean by that is just the chess match that happens before the ball's even snapped and a play's even called. And this is just a super good example of that. And for me, pre-snap is a thing of beauty. The more that Josh Allen gets comfortable doing this, the more success he'll have throwing the football because he's going to set himself up well.
Fast forward to this play where Allen recognized the coverage Miami showed earlier in the game, checked to this go route, and hit Brown for the touchdown.
You've got to go out there and make plays. It doesn't do you any good.
Allen's eye discipline is on point because he sees the field clearly. So he holds the safety with his eyes, then fits the pass into the honey hole of the Tampa 2 coverage. But Allen's arm isn't the only threat. Obviously, his legs are too. Since entering the league, Allen has amassed 318 yards on 29 attempts, which includes 19 first downs and 3 touchdowns. A lot of fans are angry at Dable for calling 8 design QB runs last week, but given Allen's success as a runner against Miami and Cam Newton's success against the Dolphins last week, I don't expect that to change. Much like the Bills did against the Jets, Newton and the Patriots offense utilized a lot of read option concepts. On the snap, they would leave a defender unblocked and get that read defender to choose Newton or the running back. These kind of plays can get an extra blocker front side or give Newton the edge if the defender squeezes the running back. The Pats even ran a power read out of a 2 halfback set. This throwback to power football can really test a defense that calls man coverage as much as Miami does, because the motion by James White pulls the defender away from the play, and the read option element can get the offense a hat on a hat. These sort of plays force a defense to be disciplined, to stick to their assignment, but when executed properly, the defense can be wrong just about every time.
So once again, this is those situations near the end zone, third down. This is where Cam Newton wants to fake it, keep it, give it.
There's a 2nd and 4 pushed out. White has the first.
It's just so hard on the defense because Cam has that rare ability to hold it for so long. Watch this. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,000. That was slow motion, but I pretended that was real time.
What Dable is trying to do on these plays is get a numbers advantage at the point of attack, or get his players leverage on the defender responsible for him. When defenses have to play zone coverage because they don't want to man up versus Diggs, Brown, Beasley, Davis, and Motor, Dable can call QB draws. The defenders are so worried about getting to their zones to defend those receivers that it pulls guys out of the box and opens up massive rushing lanes for Allen. That's dictating the game, yet fans are upset about it. Just look at some of the sophistication on these plays. You have eye candy by Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox looking to influence the edge defender to squeeze on the running back as Allen reads him. And if it weren't for a great play by that defender, the Bills would have gotten a chunk play to the play side. Allen still busted this one open and moved the chains with his legs, something he did 5 times on the day. Here's a 20 personnel look with the Bills running a midline read, which is a read of the defensive tackle Nathan Shepard. He's an explosive, up-the-field rusher, so Dable decides not to block him. He is the read man. On the snap, he attacks upfield, Allen reads him and keeps it. Is it always going to work? No, these read-type runs and run game concepts from the pistol will take time to iron out. That's because the mesh between the running backs and quarterback, along with the reads by Allen at game speed, will take time to sync up. I don't expect these plays to become a base concept like it is for, say, the Ravens, but if the Bills can incorporate a run game from spread personnel looks and groupings, with Allen as a threat this week against the Dolphins, his domination of the team should continue.
Allen, he's going to run it. Can he get in there? He can! And he tosses that one up towards the press box. A 98-yard drive.
Right. Now that Russell, Christian, and Eric have walked us through each of these 3 different areas of the matchup this week with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, try to keep an eye out for those things as you're watching the game. See if you can identify the pieces that they showed you and be a little bit smarter as you're watching as a fan. Thanks for joining us here on the Cover One Matchup Show, and we'll see you next week.